Could two media giants become one? We're looking at the wide-ranging implications of a potential merger between Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount.
Well, let's add Seth Schachner to this conversation. He's the managing director of Strat Americas, an entertainment consultancy. Thanks for coming on the show. So the two CEOs are just reportedly in talks right now. This doesn't mean a merger will actually happen, but we continue to see consolidation in media. So how significant would this deal be if it comes to fruition?
Well, it would be very significant. I mean, it is, look, this is very early stage stuff. A lunch with David Zaslav and Bob Backish, I don't think is something to completely panic over and start calling the regulators on yet. But, the real story here, this is for the traditional legacy media companies, the interests and the holdings go way beyond streaming and the current landscape. Everything from television to sports rights to even as a few months ago, book publishers were in there, which had been sold, and old school cable networks are kind of in the mix here. And what it's really about is survival more than it is growth. It's two legacy media companies trying to pull things together in a way that so they can stay competitive with Netflix, basically. And yeah, for sure, just because of the size and scope, it would definitely be meaningful. There's a lot of really tough and yucky stuff in terms of overlapping costs and staff layoffs and production cost cuts. And presumably there are folks out there who will look at this and say, sell off the different pieces because it's going to be more valuable being pulled apart. So it would be very significant to see the two come together, though.
So for the viewer at home who looks at this potential merger and their eyes glaze over a little bit saying, how does this impact me and what I watch on TV? What do you say to them?
Even for the analysts looking at it as well, basically, I hear you on that.
That's fair.
It's not going to mean anything in the short term. No, it is, because it is a little bit of an eye-rolling type thing. The news on this has been out for quite some time in terms of the possibilities. But yeah, I mean, hypothetically, because this is so early right now, and it would have to go through regulatory approval. I guess you could see a combination of a streaming service for sure. You might even see something to do with the television network. In terms of cross-programming, some of those sports rights that CBS has got maybe could potentially be bundled into the streaming services, and there'd be overlap in the way they're doing with news. Maybe a CNN-CBS combo. There's a ton of stuff you could put together there as well. But right now, I don't really see anything particularly happening in terms of like something the consumer can sense on it right now.
It's interesting that you mentioned how this merger really comes from needing to compete with a Netflix. I was thinking about Netflix. Remember when Netflix used to be just mailing you DVDs? And it evolved into this huge streaming company. So there has to be something next, right? So is this really just playing catch up?
Yeah, I think that there is a catch up factor to it. I mean, the thing is, Viacom, or Paramount it's now called, I used to work there many years ago, built itself not only around Paramount, which is, a 100-year-old classic American studio, but also all of these pay TV cable networks from MTV to VH1 to Comedy Central and Nick over the years, basically. And these things are really old school models that are living off of pay TV operators. And at some point, they really need to either sell or shut these things as they die off, basically. So I do think it is about digital transformation, and it will be kind of getting bigger to get more competitive. I mean, I think if you look at Disney, that's probably the nearest sort of thing that I'd point to in the universe. They had the Fox assets. Murdoch kind of punted them in with Bob Iger about six or so years ago. And I think that's viewed as a viable kind of successful entity to Netflix right now. But there's a lot of stuff inside Paramount. There's plenty of stuff inside Warner Discovery. There's massive amounts of debt right now. So I think honestly, when I look at this and I see this in terms of Mr. Zaslav's strategy from Discovery, it will be about cost cutting, and it'll be about combining assets to kind of stay alive, and hopefully the ad market turns around for everyone. So that's really what it's all about, to compete with Netflix and others.
Seth, is the Biden administration likely to be skeptical of such a merger, thinking that maybe these two companies are getting too big if they merge together?
I bet it will get some scrutiny because of the size of it. And I think if people look at maybe the studios, certainly the history of Warner Brothers, the history of Paramount, National Amusements, how it was built, for sure, I think that'll get some scrutiny. But, as you just said earlier in this segment, there isn't really a traditional broadcast network inside Warner right now. It's cable and streaming assets, basically. But I think there'll be a lot of scrutiny there. And, I think there's just a ton of internal scrutiny. Sherry Redstone, who inherited this from her father, Sumner Redstone, who was just a brilliant engineer putting together a big media conglomerate, I think wants to protect some of that legacy and doesn't want to see the thing get pulled apart and sold, particularly Paramount, because there's some just amazing American properties, everything from The Godfather to Top Gun and Star Trek's in there. So I think there'll be a lot of scrutiny all around about this. And again, not to be broken, it's early, so who knows? It was just a lunch.
Seth Schachner with Strat Americas. Thanks for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.